We built a world of noise, the hum of engines, the clatter of footsteps on pavement, voices weaving through markets and towers and trains. Neon flickered against midnight skylines, electric hearts pulsing with ambition. Glass and steel, rising above rivers and forests, crowned with blinking lights that dared the darkness to come closer. We moved without pausing, always reaching, always running from one appointment to the next, chasing a million small victories that never quite filled the emptiness. Our days were measured in notifications and deadlines, our nights in restless dreams. We called it progress, we called it success. But in the whirlwind, we forgot the slow rhythm of our own breath, the gentle hush between heartbeats, the language of silence that once spoke to us at dawn. Then, one day, it all went quiet. The city's pulse stilled, like a heart holding its breath. Cars stood motionless beneath empty traffic lights. Shop fronts closed their eyes, and streets became rivers of shadow and memory. The voices, all the hurried conversations, the laughter, the shouting, faded into the walls and windows, leaving only echoes. The machines, those tireless companions, fell silent, their gears sighing into rest. We lingered at our windows and doorways, uncertain, listening for the familiar chaos that never came. The absence of sound was heavy, almost frightening. We didn't know what to do with the silence. At first, it felt like standing at the edge of an unknown sea, the world held in a long, trembling pause. But slowly, as the days drifted into each other, we began to hear other things. On empty avenues, birds returned, their calls threading through the concrete canyons like silver ribbons. Sparrow and robin, gull and dove, found their way back to forgotten eaves and silent parks. The wind, unchecked by the roar of engines, moved through the trees with a voice both ancient and new, carrying the scent of rain and distant blossoms. Rain itself became a gentle percussion, tapping on roofs and windows, composing symphonies for anyone who would listen. Somewhere in the stillness, the world became a cathedral, and nature reclaimed her voice. Soft, persistent, and true, reminding us that beauty never truly vanished. It had only been waiting for the noise to subside. In that quiet, another voice emerged, one we'd forgotten, our own. At first, it was a whisper, uncertain and shy, like the first light before dawn. Alone with our thoughts, we heard ourselves more clearly than we had in years. Memories surfaced, dreams long deferred stretched their wings, and questions echoed in the silent rooms. "Are you living the life you want?" the voice asked. Not accusing, not demanding, but gently, as if hoping for honesty. Between the rustle of leaves and the hush of empty streets, we listened. We remembered childhood wishes, promises made to ourselves, the small joys and the quiet regrets. The silence was no longer frightening. It was a mirror, reflecting back the truth of our days. We began to rediscover what had been lost in the noise. We reached for books, their pages whispering stories into waiting hands. We learned to sit still, not out of boredom, but out of curiosity. To feel the sun on our skin, to watch the shadows move across the floor, to follow the slow dance of dust in a golden beam of light. Laughter returned, unrecorded and unshared, blooming in kitchens and living rooms, rich and private. We picked up the phone, not to text or scroll, but to call old friends, our voices bridging distances that felt suddenly small. For the first time in a long while, we asked simply, "How are you?" and waited for the answer. The world had paused, its grand machinery at rest, but somehow we moved closer, heart to heart, soul to soul, finding connection in the quiet. The quiet didn't last forever. Eventually, engines rumbled back to life. Doors opened, and the city's song returned, layered with old harmonies and new hopes. But something inside us had changed. We had learned the shape of stillness, the weight and the blessing of silence. Even as the world spun back into its familiar orbit of noise and movement, we carried a remnant of that calm within us, a memory of soft mornings, of honest questions, of laughter shared for its own sake. Now, amid the chaos, we paused to listen, to the wind in the trees, to the rain on the roof, to our own steady breath. We remember what matters. We remember the day the world went quiet and how, in losing the noise, we found ourselves. In the beginning, we were architects of ambition, laying brick upon brick in pursuit of something just out of reach. Our cities rose like mountains, our schedules filled every hour, our calendars overflowed with plans. Life became a race, and the finish line kept moving. The world spun faster, and we spun with it, dizzy and breathless, too busy to notice what we'd left behind. But when the world fell silent, the race stopped. There was nowhere to run, nothing to chase. We were left with ourselves and with the simple truth that we are, at our core, beings of stillness as much as movement. In the silence, grief found its way in. Grief for what was lost, for what could not be reclaimed. But alongside grief came gratitude. For the first time, we noticed the delicate veins of a leaf, the way sunlight spilled across the kitchen table, the sound of a loved one's laughter drifting down the hall. We learned to savor the small moments, to taste our food, to breathe deeply, to let our minds wander without purpose. We listened to music not as background noise, but as a language that spoke to the soul. We watched the sky change, the clouds painting slow masterpieces that shifted with the wind. Children played in empty streets, their voices ringing out like bells, their games unhurried and wild. Gardens bloomed in forgotten corners, tended by hands that had never known the patience of planting and waiting. Couples walked beneath the stars, holding hands in the quiet, their words soft and meaningful. Even the animals seemed unburdened, wandering freely where once they were shadows at the edge of our vision. As the days unfolded, we realized that silence was not emptiness, but space. Space to grow, to heal, to remember who we are. The world became less of a machine and more of a living, breathing being. We felt its pulse in the rain, its breath in the wind, its heartbeat in the gentle hush of dawn. We understood, perhaps for the first time, that we are not apart from nature, but a part of it, woven into its rhythms, dependent on its grace. We forgave ourselves for our hurry, our distraction, our forgetfulness. We forgave each other, too, for the ways we had failed to listen, to care, to be present. In the absence of noise, compassion grew. We reached out to neighbors, to family, to strangers, offering help and hope in small, steady ways. We became more human, more humble, more aware of our shared fragility and strength. As the world awoke from its slumber, the lessons of the quiet remained. We carried them with us like secret treasures, a deeper appreciation for the ordinary, a renewed commitment to kindness, a promise to ourselves to pause, to listen, to remember. In moments of chaos, we found ourselves returning to the stillness, seeking its comfort, its clarity, its peace. Now, as life resumes its familiar pace, we are changed. We no longer take the sunrise for granted, or the way a friend's voice can light up a room. We cherish the sound of laughter, the warmth of a hug, the simple joy of sharing a meal. We know that noise will return, that the world will call us back to its dance. But we also know that we can choose, at any moment, to step aside, to close our eyes, to listen for the soft voice within. The day the world went quiet, we found each other. We found ourselves. And in that discovery, we planted the seeds of a new beginning, a life lived not only in motion, but in meaning. A life where stillness is not an absence, but a presence. A life where we remember, always, what truly matters. And so, as the seasons change and the world moves on, we carry the quiet with us, not as a memory, but as a guide. We listen for the birds, for the wind, for the rain. We listen for the voice within, gentle and wise, reminding us to slow down, to breathe, to cherish. We know that the world will never be the same, and neither will we. For in the day the world went quiet, we learned to hear again, not just the sounds around us, but the song of our own hearts. In the gentle hush that followed the storm, we found a new way to live, not rushing from moment to moment, but moving with intention, not filling every silence with noise, but letting it be a space for wonder, for gratitude, for connection. We learned that progress is not always measured in speed, that success is not always found in achievement. Sometimes it is found in the quiet moments, in the space between heartbeats, in the pause between words, in the stillness that lingers after the world goes quiet. And so we begin again, not as we were, but as we are. Softer, wiser, more awake. We hold close the lessons of the silence, the beauty of the ordinary, the power of presence. We remember that the world is a gift, and that every moment is an opportunity to listen, to learn, to love. The day the world went quiet, we lost the noise. But we found ourselves, and in that finding, we discovered what it means to truly be alive.